Just for today, everything's okay, everything's okay. Never comes again, another day like yesterday. Just for today, everything's okay, everything's okay.
Good morning, everybody. I want to share with you a thought and a realization that I've had within the last 48 hours in a conversation with a very insightful human. And it came as sort of a startling and very, very hopeful thought. And I'll give you more context around this thought and what it may mean for us. If you take the overall context, there are lots of spiritual leaders, one of them, Eckhart Tolle, who have said that the human race is at a really interesting, a singular time in human history, in that we have the potential for maybe the first time ever for humans to wake up, to raise their conscious awareness, to significantly change things such that we don't live in such misery and suffering and stupidity and ignorance that has been the reality for millennia, that it may be possible for us. And I go back and forth. I look at a lot of the things happening in the world today and go, well, we're doing the same things we've always done. We're murdering each other. We're at war constantly. We're fighting over resources. We're fighting over ego. We're raping, killing, stealing, demonizing other members of the human race, let alone how we treat animals, plants, right? The planet on which we depend for this experience. And so it's easy to go, well, I don't know, it's the same old shit. And then sometimes I can literally feel that there's a new earth, there's a new way of being available to us, and it's here now, and all we have to do is just wake up and go, okay, let's build that, let's take that, let's choose that. And then sometimes that just seems like new age woo-woo bullshit, and sometimes I think things can be slightly better. Sometimes I think we're going to be destroyed by AI, whatever. We're at this really, really interesting intersection in human history. But I had this realization of how incredibly important the last 50 years are. And that those of us who are born into this and are living now are living in a really, really exceptional time. This is truly an exceptional time. This is truly when we actually have choices. And the evidence of that, the thing that occurred to me was, when I was a child and earlier, if you look at the human race, you look at war, you look at humans predating one another, preying on one another, and for most of that, this was not even questioned. It wasn't even like, it doesn't have to be this way. It probably shouldn't be this way. It was just like, this is how it is. This is just what happens, right? And the way people dealt with it was to hope that you were part of a kingdom with a strong king or a strong government or leadership that was willing to protect you if you did your part, if you worked, or if you, like whatever. It was pretty transactional, right? Like you want to be, if you have to live during the time of Rome, you better hope that you're a Roman and that Rome is sort of looking out for you. And it's clear from, for example, Roman history that they didn't care that much about their own citizens. But if you were a citizen and you paid taxes and you were part of the national ego, then Rome was going to probably be more protective of you than they were of someone from an entirely different nation or race, where given the opportunity, they were going to rape and pillage and steal resources and conquer. And I'm not just beating up on Rome. This was the way humans were, right? So the way that you dealt with that was to hopefully become a very powerful warrior or to have very powerful political connections. So everything was very transactional. You just accepted that that's the way things were. And you attempted to negotiate and interact with reality in a way that gave you a little bit better of a chance that you didn't end up a slave or murdered or whatever, some of the worst outcomes that were possible for human beings, right? So that was still true when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was just like, this is just the way humans are. This is just what reality is. Like, the people trying to negotiate and going, oh, it shouldn't be that way, it was just like, well, yeah, they're the weak people. They say that because that's their only defense mechanism. They're not capable of defending themselves. They're weak people. And so they leverage this morality of like, we shouldn't treat one another this way. It's like, well, you say that because you're hoping to guilt people into making space for you, but you're actually a weak person, right? So that was, maybe that was just me, but I think that was part of the human consciousness. And that was probably part of human consciousness for millennia. But what's interesting is within my lifetime, that shifted to war is bad. If we have to have war, there should be rules. You shouldn't torture or rape or murder civilians, people who are not involved. So even if people are part of the nation that is your enemy in this battle, there's some feeling that it's like, well, this is a worst case scenario and the human race has sort of like failed and we've sunk to armed conflict and shedding blood. But we should at least try to mitigate it. Like if you capture someone, you know, a soldier from the other side, don't starve them, don't torture them. Of course, people did anyway. But the point is there was this raising of consciousness of like, war's a bad thing. And it would be better if we could avoid it. And if we have to do it, we should try to be more humane, right? Whereas 1,000 years ago, it's like, well, if your kingdom got overtaken, it's just a given. All the men are going to be slaughtered, the women are going to be raped, and the children are going to be raped and enslaved. Right? Nobody was like, this is so unfair. Why? It was like, well, no, like that's what happens. That's just what humans do. Then it became, well, we shouldn't do that, right? Okay, so let me get to the point. What's really interesting is within my lifetime, there came to be this understanding for a number of people that this is unnecessary. War is unnecessary. War happens because we're idiots. We're stupid. We antagonize one another. Our egos get involved. There are definitely possible solutions, right? These conflicts don't have to happen the way they do. And because of ego and because of zero-sum game sort of mentality, a mentality of lack and a reactiveness and a primitive, ignorant way that we still have, we just sort of accepted that it's like, you know, there's just always stupid, aggressive people and governments do stupid, shitty things and there's going to be wars, right? So there was a shift in consciousness of war is actually not necessary, but it's necessary because some people are too stupid to know that you don't need to do it. Okay, so what this equation came to be is we realize that it's stupid to be violent and dangerous to other human beings or to animals or to the environment, but because there are people who are that stupid, we need people who are good at violence. Because we are going to have to deal with the fact that those people exist. And there's maybe more of them than there are people who are like, war is stupid, let's figure out a way to not do it. Starvation is stupid, we don't need for people to starve, let's figure out a way to feed everybody. So in my lifetime, we went from war and violence is just part of the human condition. You're just pure lucky, just pure luck if it doesn't happen in your lifetime or if you happen to be on the winning side such that you don't suffer the murder, rape, torture, pillaging of your resources and living as a slave. You're just lucky. We went from that to, oh, this is all really stupid and unnecessary. We probably don't need to do it. But there are so many stupid, ignorant people who are violent and have an impulse towards violence and aggression towards others that we need to develop our violence and aggression in order to deal with those people. And if you look at the entirety of the short life of the United States, it's so interesting because in order to inhabit this middle space, so I'll get to that point about the U.S., but in order to inhabit this middle space, where you're like, look, war is probably unnecessary, murder is unnecessary, people starving is unnecessary, cruelty towards others, stealing people's resources is a stupid thing to do, it's unnecessary, it's inhuman. But we need to develop our ability to do violence because there are really shitty people. Okay, so you notice in this middle section, this middle view way of looking at things, in order to justify your own violence, you need to demonize someone else. Someone else needs to be really bad so that you're like, well, we're good and we know that war is bad and we have no desire to go to war or to do violence against anyone. But because these people are so bad and so ignorant, they've made it necessary. We have no choice but to become good at violence. And when we have war, it's because they're bad people who are stupid and ignorant, and they make it necessary that we go to war. Right? Okay, you notice that mentality, that reasoning? It's built in this next evolution from war and violence is just normal. It's just whatever, that's how it works. It sucks, but that's how it works. To, it's not really necessary, but there are so many stupid and violent people that we better also learn how to be violent so we can deal with the stupid and violent people. So that second move requires that we demonize someone else to justify our violence. Okay, this is the entirety of the history of the United States. Not all of it. I think there were probably reasonable reasons for us to have the War of Independence, and Europe had thousands of years of being corrupt and cruel and colonizing and transactional with people. So if the people who came here, who were already decimating the native populations, we were already leveraging violence and demonizing the Native Americans in order to justify our own violence and our own theft. Okay, but like, let's just pretend we're like, put that to the side. Maybe the War for Independence was justified. World War I, maybe World War II. Maybe some of the conflict with China and Russia and communism. But the truth is it becomes very, very clear that very, very quickly, our leveraging of our ability to do violence and to be very successful with violence and to have the money to support the violence that controls other people and directs the events in their countries and with their people and their leaders, that very, very quickly our need to demonize other people became completely delusional, to the point now that people are waking up that it's like in the US, it's like we don't even pretend. Like the dialogue is just childishly stupid and asinine, right? You look at the first Gulf War, it's just fucking stupid. They just lied. And all it came down to is it was oil. It was just oil. I had a client call, sorry for the interruption. It's just oil. And so at this point, it's blindingly obvious that if the U.S. ever was in a war in which it's like, look, our violence was justified because we had to deal with stupid people who were doing great violence. Okay, maybe that was true in World War I and World War II. I don't know. I'm not expert historian. But it becomes very, very stunningly clear that for decades and decades and decades after that, we started just willfully demonizing whoever had oil or whoever we needed to control for our own economic benefit. So very, very, very quickly, that middle perspective gets gamed where you're like, look, war is stupid. It is unnecessary. We don't need to kill people. We don't need to steal. We don't need to murder. But there are stupid, ignorant people who are violent, so we need to develop our ability to do violence to deal with them. It becomes stunningly clear that the U.S. is the most violent and has the least justification over the last 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years, that they're not even pretending anymore. They say the shit. They say the words of like, oh, we're liberating these people and this tyrant and blah. They run the same goddamn childish bullshit. But anybody who's paying attention knows, oh, the U.S. government has some need to control some resource or wants access to some resource, or someone decided not to use the U.S. dollar, or someone's threatening the World Bank by some economic, and we're just going to go murder people. We're just going to go kill people and take down their system of society because it serves the U.S. government. And by the way, it doesn't even serve us anymore, even though we live in, like, relative to most of the world, we live in incredible, well, not really luxury, but still our lives are incredibly privileged comparatively, right? We live under tighter and tighter restriction and more stress and more control all the time. And our current government literally has no problem with federal agents threatening and bullying the American population, murdering people and then lying about it and pretending that it was justified. Right, so okay, let's not pretend that Americans live in the lap of luxury anymore. We do as far as having stuff. But, okay, so the point is that very quickly that middle view where it's like, oh, war is unnecessary, right? War is unnecessary, but we need to develop our own ability to be violent and aggressive because there are stupid, ignorant people who are violent and aggressive. That's okay. Like, in order to justify your own violence, you need to demonize somebody else. And it becomes very apparent that if you're successful at that, very, very, very quickly, that becomes addictive. And before too long, you're the one who's stupid and aggressive and ignorant and leveraging your violence to just get what you want. And you're just murdering other people willfully, right? Okay, so that's that middle. So let's come to the more hopeful part. I was aware of, probably from somewhere around 15 years old, that war was unnecessary. And I would even have conversations or arguments with my father or people where it's like, well, it's unnecessary and this, like, we don't have the right to do this and it's someone else's country. Like, you know, it's one thing if someone attacks us, we should defend ourselves, but why are we always going into other people's countries and blah, blah, blah. And my father, in his more honest moments, would basically just say, yeah, maybe that's true, but the world is what it is and people are the way they are, so it's just going to keep being that way, and you better be prepared. Like, you better have violence. He called it state violence, like state-sanctioned violence, violence instituted by the state, meaning a country, not a individual state. But when you see the outcome of that view is that humans are human, and very, very, very quickly, you just start lying and you become the ignorant, violent person who's hurting other people for no reason other than personal gain. Which, by the way, if you look at American history, that was true from the beginning. So, whatever. But let's not get into that argument, right? Wiping out the Native Americans, taking their land, taking their resources, stealing land from Mexico, you know, maintaining slavery because it's highly lucrative. Okay, this shit's been going on since the beginning, but whatever. I'm not dismissing it. What I'm saying is that's true. But there is this interesting evolution in the consciousness of humans. So let's come to the more hopeful part. As I was thinking this through, I began to realize that over the last 6 months to a year, not only have I begun to believe at a gut level that war is unnecessary and that starvation is unnecessary and that it's possible for everyone to have enough food and for everyone to have a warm place to sleep. It's possible for us to care for all of the humans and to care for animals and plants and to care for the planet. That this is possible. Technologically, we have the science, we have the knowledge, we have the science. For the first time in human history, this isn't just like, well, it's possible if we really applied ourselves, maybe we didn't have to have war, and maybe we could feed people, but there's so many ignorant people, and you better be prepared for war, and blah blah blah. Like, at least me, I'm past that. I'm like, no, this is truly fucking stupid now. We truly have the capability of feeding everyone and housing everyone without torturing and without destroying anyone. And I'll give you the example. Of why we've reached enough knowledge, we know enough about resources, enough about food, enough about people, enough about population management, et cetera, that this is, at this point, this isn't just about like, well, there are dumb people and you just have to deal with it. It's like, no, bullshit. We actually have a real chance. I was thinking about this. Like, everyone's freaked out about AI, right? And 90% of AI is, as far as I know, is being used in very destructive ways, right? AI is being used for facial recognition, which I'm sure is going to be sold to the American military to identify targets, to identify terrorists, blah, blah, blah. But it's going to be used against our own population. Guaranteed. It's going to be used against our own population, right? So these really sick things are happening with AI, but there's tons of money in it. Or AI is being used as a predictive model to manage finances so that billionaires can make more billions and blah, blah. Like all of this shit. AI is really being leveraged for this. All the smartest people are working on these things because the companies working on facial recognition or financial management are the people who have millions, hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, and they're the ones paying high salaries. So that's what's fucking happening. Right? But I really thought about it. I was like, there's a real use of AI, which is, for example, one of the problems with industrial farming is you need to sort of monocrop. You need to standardize what you're doing so you can produce mass amounts. And we've learned just enough to leverage the earth and the soil to force it to produce way more than is actually natural. But when we do that, we destroy the soil, and many times soil has to remain fallow and unsown for 5 to 7 years to recover. But there's all of this shit. But anyone who's really into agriculture, who does small farming, knows that you can combine different crops and you can do different things that renew the soil and rejuvenate the soil. And if you're aware of pH and nutrition in the soil and how the soil is being used and what's being planted in it and what's being produced, et cetera, and how it's being watered and where the water's coming from, because water is like a huge issue. Access to potable water or water that can be used to water plants is a huge issue, right? Low salinity. As water moves through the ground table and goes through aquifers and blah, 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 it tends to pick up saline, it tends to pick up salt content, and at some point there's so much that it begins to kill crops, right? This is an issue with water that flows through California down into Mexico. As often by the time it gets to Mexico, it's been pumped up and sunk down again and used and pumped up and sunk down again and back into the water table and into the rivers, and by the time it gets there, it has a higher saline content, and it's bad for the crops, right? So you have these issues. In 5 years, I mean, you can think I'm stupid and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't care. But I guarantee you, in 5 years, if all of the intelligence and human power and political will and hundreds of millions of dollars that are being used to develop AI, to operate drones to murder people, or to do facial recognition so that the American government can murder their own political enemies without anyone knowing, using facial recognition or using like whatever, or they can go assassinate other leaders of other countries at will with, right? If all that will and that money was applied to using AI to develop a system that routinely, daily monitors the pH levels, the moisture, the water, where the water's coming. I mean, this AI is perfect for this. Instead of analyzing financial systems so that some billionaire can make another 100 million out of thin air because they're not actually buying or selling anything, they're just leveraging the financial environment. They're leveraging the fact that the most of us don't have time to track all of this shit, and we're trying to invest in stocks, but they're just gaming our impulses. That's all they do, is they game our impulses. We lose money and they make millions, right? That's what's happening. If you took that willpower and that money and that human power, you could build a system, and I guarantee you within 5 years or shorter, AI could be managing the use of our soil such that it almost never needed to lie fallow, and it could rotate which crops got planted in what order, that used what certain nutrients and were more nutrient dense when we harvested those, so that there would be enough food for anyone. No one would need to starve. No one's kids need to go to bed hungry. I guarantee you that AI can do that now. It can manage water now. And it can manage agriculture now. Whatever that, I'm not a farmer, but I guarantee you it can sit there and look at historical trends, historical weather trends. You can train it to look at historical weather trends, to look at, you know, what happens when you monocrop and what crops need to be mixed to get more powerful output, and what crops need to be tilled back into the ground so that the whatever the pH is the right balance for the next crop that you're going to choose. And it can start to tell you, and it could work together where it's like, oh, this farm over here needs to produce this because people need it, but then that farmer is going to need to change that crop and to a different one, so this farmer over here can produce these. And it could coordinate that such that we could produce enormous amounts of food and end hunger and stop being fucking transactional about something as stupid as children starving to death anywhere. It's no longer necessary. We have the scientific knowledge, we have the money, we have everything we need. We have the knowledge, we have the skill, and we now have AI, and we could easily develop a system that could manage agriculture to produce far more than we produce now, and to do it in a way that does not destroy the soil. This is possible now. Now. And the only reason it doesn't happen is because there are people who are still stuck in the very first position, awareness position, or the second one where they're like, yeah, John, like, yeah, no, I get it, I believe you, but look, that's not how the world works. Shut the fuck up. The world works the way we choose for it to work. Have an intention. Start a project. Start it now. There's no reason. We know everything we need to know. We have everything we need. We have everything we need. And if you're sitting there serving that old mentality, that bullshit, Don't pretend that you're doing it because, well, there's so many violent, stupid people. I need to figure out how to deal with that because we don't really know. And maybe no. You're full of shit. We know what we need to know. If you are not directly engaged in the building of that now, you're full of shit. You are the ignorant person who's making the world that way. You're choosing for it to be that way. We are choosing for it to be that way. We no longer get to go, oh, kids starve. It's terrible. I feel so sad. Like, it's terrible. And I go donate to my local food. Shut the fuck up. We can solve this problem now. Now. Forget the stock market. Forget, your apps that can help you choose a successful outfit, or apps to sit there and shoot Angry Bird, what the fuck ever. Like, this is asinine. We're entertaining ourselves. We're numbing ourselves out when we literally have everything we need, and we know what we need to know, and we have the scientific know-how, we have the technological know-how right now so that children no longer starve. And you're like, well, I want to develop this app because, I know it's like, well, kids will love it. All the teens are going to be into it. I'm going to sell it for $2.99. And it's this game and blah, blah. And like this other guy, he made millions. Like, I could be a millionaire by the time I'm 30. Shut the fuck up. Kids are starving right now. Yeah, it used to be okay because we didn't know. We didn't know how to solve it. Right? There was a thing the kids used to say when your parents would be like, hey, you better eat your vegetables. There's kids starving wherever. And you'd be like, well, I mail it to them. I don't know. It's like, what am I supposed to do about it? Well, guess what? We have the knowledge. We have the money. We have the power. We have the technology. We have the science. I don't believe you if you're sitting there thinking, yeah, but the world's been this way. You need to know who and what you are right now. You are, if you say, well, people are ignorant and, you have to be prepared. That's just the way the world works. What you mean is that's the way you work. That's the way you work. And that might have been true 100 years ago or 500 years ago, but it's not true right now. It's not true right now. What's true right now is we have the ability to manage fresh water. With AI, we can learn how fresh water works and how it moves and how much there is and where it needs to be. I'm not talking about moving stuff. I'm just talking about stop mismanaging it. Right? And we can make choices. If Hershey's goes into Texas and destroys the water table for all the farmers because they're powerful and they lobby the government, okay, fuck the government. They're full of shit. They've been bought and sold for decades. They're not going to do anything other than take the fucking money. Stop pretending the government's going to help us. But if someone developed an app, like it's totally possible, an AI app that sits there and manages water tables and how fast they refresh and weather schedules and blah, blah, and can say, look, this isn't a matter of negotiating and debating with Hershey's that it's like, hey, you should need to respect the farmers, but they're not gonna, blah, blah, where you could literally as a local government go, no, you can't. This doesn't work. We already know. We can already project and we already know how this is going to work. And this is not renewable. With AI, we can manage what's renewable. We can plug billions of data points in that no human brain can comprehend and wrap itself around. And we can recognize patterns and we can manage our own reality. This is the purpose of AI. AI is not here so that the Terminator can take over. That's what happens if we choose for that to happen. If we play that game, if we make our reality about war and murder and being a bunch of psychos, but it's us. We choose it. We cannot turn to the government. We cannot turn to the government. Governments are all bought and sold, and they're full of people who are soft and weak and scared, and they have all their health coverage paid for, and their kids go to the nicest schools, and they have security, and their kids are safe, and their kids are never going to war. You cannot turn to them for shit. They're weak and they're scared. It's up to us. They're weak and they're scared. It's up to us. And we have the technology and we have the know-how. If you want to get this started, like, reach out, contact me. Find me and be like, I'm willing to work on this. Okay, we need to work on freshwater management, and we need to work on agriculture and building out a database, a predictive database that can, and I'm not talking about being some psycho extreme left-wing, oh, the whole world is going to implode and New York is going to be underwater because of global warming. That whole thing's been gamed. I'm not talking about some wacko reactionary bullshit on the extreme left, and I'm not talking about the extreme right that's like roll coal like a bunch of fucking morons. I'm talking about those of us in the middle, us reasonable people who want to build the new earth. And it's not some woo-woo thing. It's literally in our power to do it now. AI is a key tool that we can use to learn how things actually behave, how renewable fresh water is, how much you can use, where it needs to go, where you need to take dams off of rivers and let that river flow, where we're destroying, we can manage fish population. All of this can be understood and managed. That's what AI should be doing, not making goddamn facial recognition software and directing drones to murder people. We're the ones choosing this shit. We choose this shit. But you have to stop pretending that there's just a world of ignorant people and you have to be prepared. No. If you're saying that, you're the ignorant person and I'm the ignorant person. Knock it off. That shit's over. It's done. We actually can solve these problems now. You have to stop doing that. Stop doing that. Right? All of these people, the governments, people like Trump, right? Psychopaths that just can't wait to go out and shoot an American citizen if they even look sideways. Like these psychopaths, these sick people. Everybody acts like they're so powerful. They're scared, shitty little people who will collapse in a fucking heartbeat if you will stop saying, well, there's ignorant, dangerous people and we need our dangerous people. Shut up. It's stupid. We have the capability for no one to need to be dangerous. We have the capability for no one to need to be dangerous. We are at a point in human history where it can actually change. And I don't mean by taking control of people like communism did, which is just another psycho system that's like, oh, well, once you take control of people to redistribute the wealth, all that happened is the powerful people who were controlling the whole thing kept all the fucking wealth. It's the same thing that happens every time. Doesn't matter what form of government you develop. It's always about controlling the wealth to take care of the people. But as soon as the wealth goes into the control of the people who are running the system, they just keep it. That's what happens every time. It doesn't matter whether it's capitalism or communism or socialism, what the fuck ever it is. It doesn't matter. It's the same move every time. You have a system, this system's going to take care of people, it's going to be fair. How do we do it? Okay, let's gather all of the wealth and resources together, and then we're going to distribute it, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that. Okay, so you gather it all, and then the people who gathered it all, who are in control of distributing it, suddenly are massive oligarchs and billionaires and millionaires, and you're like, oh, how did this happen? Well, oh, fuck, I don't know. It's only been happening for millennia. Pull your fucking heads out of your asses. This is just stupid. It's so obvious it's stupid. It's tiring to look at the same thing that anyone argues for any form of government is idiocy. It's all the same GD thing. it's not going to be them, but they're weak. They will collapse. They are collapsing because we know how stupid their system is, and their system relies on us going, well, you know, the world is a dangerous place, and you do need, you know, the government to make bombs and oh my God, it's so tired. And we have everything we need. We have the money, we have the power, we have the scientific knowledge, we have the technology, and we have AI. And what AI can do is it can wrap itself around data and recognize patterns that no human brain has the processing power to do. It needs our wisdom to guide it in how that works. Right? So we need AI working on rain and freshwater models, salinity of freshwater, how water becomes unusable, when and where, right? What we can rely on so that you don't suddenly have like, oh my God, like Texas is suddenly like a desert and it's this huge catastrophe and all of these people have to move and people's kids are like, no. You can see this coming now. You can know that this is coming. And again, I'm not talking about the extreme wacko left that are like, oh, the entire world's ending because people with a different political opinion have pissed me off, so I need to tell everyone that they're going to destroy the universe, right? And the extreme right does the same thing. The left is destroying everything. Shut up. You both. We need to take both of you, put you in a big box and shake it up and just let you fight it out. Those of us in the middle know that it's not any government, it's not any political view, and for the first time in human history, it's actually possible. It's not some pipe dream, it's not some woo, like, oh, it really can be, and I'm going to meditate and manifest. No, we can do it. We can do it. We can do it here, now. We have everything we need, now. The only thing holding us back is believing, A, that war and starvation and misery is just part of the human condition, or B, believing that there are so many people who believe that war, starvation, and misery is part of, that we have to be prepared to deal with those people doing stupid things because they operate from that. We don't need to do that anymore. We can abandon those people, and many of them are good people, and they're going to wake up and go, oh my God, like, it's over. Like, I guess I didn't need to believe that. I believed that in my life, and I woke up and went, oh, that's not true anymore. We don't need to sit here and go, well, you know, there's a lot of ignorant people. Okay, well, that's how you demonize people and convinced me that it was okay for our government to go murder people, but you wake up and go, no, this is bullshit. It's just bullshit. So enough of my anger and vitriol, right? Back to the hope. We are at a crucial point in human history. We have the knowledge, we have the will, we have the money, we have the technology, we have the scientific development, and we have AI, which can manage vast, huge data points, right? Numbers of data points, to recognize patterns that we have never, that no human is able to do. And we can use that to manage water, fresh water and water for crops. And we can use it to manage soil and how we treat the soil and how we use the soil and how we produce food. And we can feed everyone. No starving kids, no wars over resources. We can feed everyone. And we can make sure everyone has water. That can be done now. So if we sit back and let children starve, if we go to war, it's ego and stupidity, and we're doing it to ourselves. We're choosing it. We're choosing it. Or we can choose to build what I'm describing to you. If you want me to put my money where my mouth is, look, I'm just a therapist. But contact me. If you want to, let's fucking do it. The government's not going to do it. The experts are all engaged in taking the money, right? But there's lots of smart people. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it now. And no one's children need to starve, go to bed hungry, or cold. We can do this now. So contact me. Let's do it. Let's stop fucking around. We can build the new earth now. It can be here in the next 10 years. It can be here for your children. It can be here for your nation, for your village, for your country, for your town, for your what the fuck ever. We can do it now. It is only our belief that we have to prepare for the stupidity of stupid people, but that belief makes me the stupid people. Because that's over. That's done. Okay? Let's do it. I dare you. I double dog dare you. I love you guys. See you next time.
Just for today, everything's okay. Everything's okay.